tucked in behind our pollies at press conferences, the chances are you've never given much thought to the configuration of flags adorning the walls of Parliament. Until now, because the flag wars are kicking off today.
When I look at you in a press conference, I see there's only one flag behind you. It's our national flag. If you are elected Prime Minister, will that remain the same?
Yes, it will. I'm very strongly of the belief, Peter, that we are a country united under one flag.
The opposition leader promising to ditch the PM's preferred trio of flags, which includes the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags, if he's voted in.
If we're asking people to identify with different flags, we are dividing our country unnecessarily.
His comments ironically proving a little divisive.
It kind of sounds like he's overcomplicating a pretty simple thing.
Indigenous people are here, and they have to acknowledge it.
I do feel that we undervalue the Australian flag. I think it's so much part of our culture and our identity.
While members of the coalition have backed Peter Dutton.
I'm very proud of our flag. All Australians want to be united as one.
I think it's a unifying symbol to say, this is our flag, we have one national flag and we stand beside it.
Labor has slammed the move.
This is Peter Dutton just doing what he knows how to do best, try and get a headline with no substance, no real policies.
Peter Dutton is once again proving himself unfit to be Prime Minister. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture is the oldest continuing culture in the world, and I believe all Australians should take great pride in that.
It isn't the first time our flags have been politicised. Anthony Albanese introduced the three flags when he was first elected. The same year, Greens leader Adam Bandt removed the Australian flag at a press conference, standing only in front of the two Indigenous flags.
It's time to understand that the symbols that represent the history of this country are very hurtful to the First Nations people.
And before that, former PM Tony Abbott famously stood in front of as many flags as possible, as often as he could. So, as our pollies continue to clash over the latest flag wars,
We should have respect for the Indigenous flag and the Torres Strait Islander flag, but they are not our national flags.
which lineup best represents our great nation?
I think it's a mark of respect, and I think we need that from both sides of Parliament.
I don't have an opinion on whether I wouldn't stand in front of an Indigenous flag, but I certainly would proudly stand in front of an Australian flag.
We are live from the lands of the Kulin Nation. Let's go to news.com.au's national political editor, Sam Maiden now. Hey Sam, there are so many things at the moment we should all be worrying about. So why are our pollies in a flap over flags?
I think it's one of those situations where it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. It's not a long tradition, the idea of having three flags. It's a tradition that started in 2022 in the lead up to the Voice referendum, and, the rest is history in terms of how that went for Anthony Albanese. So he made a change in 2022. Peter Dutton's saying, new guy, new dude, if I win the election, I'm going to go a different way. And I think it's kind of, in some respects, as simple as that. Other than, we await to find out if Peter Dutton is elected Prime Minister, how often it'll be a six-flag job, as it was for occasionally Tony Abbott.
Hey, Peter Dutton didn't lead the charge on this. He was answering a question from a journalist, but nonetheless he's been accused of trying to start a cultural war. Would there be votes to be won from a cultural war?
Look, I think that there'll be votes to be won in some respects about people saying that there should be one flag and there should be an Australian flag. Equally, no doubt the Greens would argue there'd be votes on the other side of that. I think that this is an idea that, dare I say, Peter Dutton has been flagging for some time. He's been doing it already, he has been not having the Aboriginal flag behind him when he holds press conferences at Commonwealth parliamentary offices or whatever. And so I think this has been in the ether. He's been telling people that this is where he's going to go. And so I don't think it's quite as organic as the journalist asking it by accident, if that makes sense.
Sam, the PM really does seem to be on the back foot this week, particularly over his response to what happened at the synagogue in Melbourne. Now, he's turned up there today, some pretty chaotic scenes. There's some audio, it's not entirely clear, but a lot of the people there seem to be heckling him. We'll just have a listen to what we can actually make out.
Move back, please. Stay for tennis.
You are late.
Yes, that was the first time.
When did this happen, bloody?
So talking about the tennis, obviously he was playing tennis in Perth over the weekend instead of being there. I mean, how bad is this for the Prime Minister? How much has he stuffed up the response?
Look, it's not great. I mean, there's been a couple of problems along the way. Number one, he was slow to declare this was a terrorist attack. It's a synagogue. It wasn't an attack on a supermarket or something else. It was clearly anti-Semitic and aimed at the Jewish community. They're pretty upset about that. I get the fact that he was over in Perth, could have been difficult to come back. Not a great look. I wouldn't put it as a Hawaii level, but not a great look to be playing tennis. And then it was pretty chaotic there. I think it was very respectful inside the synagogue. There were obviously some people that gathered outside that wanted to express their view, and you could clearly hear one of them saying, nice day for the tennis. So, look, I think he's in a difficult spot at the moment, Anthony Albanese. He's heading into an election, and Peter Dutton does seem to be, performing pretty well. And so the pressure's on.
Sam Maiden, appreciate your time. Thank you.